Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Future Proof Your Business with Tealium for AI. Hello, Jay and Mike. I am so excited to have you guys as my panel. I'll let you introduce yourself really quickly for those who might not know who you are. So, Mike, I'll start with you.
Hi, everybody. Mike Anderson, founder and CTO here at Tealium. Very excited to be here. It's been a flurry of webinars this year, but there's a lot to talk about. So we're going to bring the energy today.
And Jay?
Great. I'm Jay Calavas. Been with Mike for the entire journey here at Tealium. Today, I lead our vertical product strategy. And so Tealium for AI is what we're talking about. It's one of the things that fall under my umbrella for my organization. So excited to discuss a little bit about AI and how it's impacting our worlds.
That's so awesome. And my name is Saf Kithan. I am Director of Product Marketing and Strategy. And today, our goal is to figure out just how we are approaching AI and what we think companies need as the world changes and how we think about it. So I wanted to start with the MarTech super graphic, since you can't have MarTech conversations without talking about that graphic. And you guys started working together in 2011, is that right?
Yep.
So in 2011, Mike, I don't know if you know this, the super graphic had 150 logos. And last week when it came out, 2024, it has 14,000 logos. So that's like almost 1,000% increase in 11 years, which is 13 years, which is wild. So what I want to start with is what do you think has changed, but what has stayed the same in this crazy evolution?
Well, I think we've seen a boost to the optometry industry as a result of this, just to be able to read that infographic. What has changed? The themes of digital transformation, the ideas of the digital transformation, people saying, yeah, I want more data. The transition of data from analytics to experience has been the biggest change. And now what you have is, back then when Jay and I were doing this in 2011, and Jay and I have been working together since 2002. But back then it was analytics. If we go back 10 more years to the infographic, it's Omniture, website story, web trends, not even Google Analytics yet. DoubleClick, right? Facebook's not around. None of this stuff is around. So the idea is, what's happened is data utilization has moved from analytics to experience activation. And that's why there's so many vendors out there. And anytime you can think about how you can make an experience better for a customer, you got a new business, you got a new slot on the infographic.
Wow. And I remember, I love that comment. I'm just going to repeat it because the role of data moved from analytics to experience activation. And that's such a fundamental way that people are thinking about it now. But you said something to us earlier. You said you came up with the data layer for a specific reason when you created it back in 2009, I think. Well, what was your vision?
2008. Let's just be fair. So at the time, I was working for a company here in San Diego, a company called Website Story, that really actually pioneered real-time analytics. But this was before Google Analytics was even Urchin Analytics. But we had pioneered real-time analytics. The de facto solution when we came into town was Web Trends, that was analyzing access logs from Apache web servers a day after the fact or 2 days after the fact, depending on volume. And what was happening was, you had Website Story as an enterprise real-time analytics provider. You had Omniture as an enterprise real-time analytics vendor. And we were duking it out with each other for years. And then what happened was, you had this threat of Google Analytics being free, but even though nothing's free, but Google Analytics being free coming up. And at that point, we decided that rather than duking it out at the enterprise level while Google Analytics takes the entire SMB market by giving it away for free, we should team up, and Website Story and Omniture merged together to form a super enterprise analytics company. And that company went on to become Adobe Analytics, which so many companies use today. But it was during that time that I realized the fate of Website Story customers was going to be to rip out all their software and replace it with the Omniture software. And to me, first off, being one of the guys that had written a good chunk of that Website Story software, I wasn't a fan, but I knew that this wasn't good for companies. And I knew that at that point, their most valuable asset that they have was their data. But they were being forced to implement in a vendor nomenclature rather than in their business nomenclature. And so we looked at it and said, look, this is not good for businesses. This is not good for data. So let's change it. Let's invent the universal data layer. Let's create a data foundation that is in the nomenclature of the business and not the vendor. And it will do a lot of things over the next 20 years. One, it's going to make data easier to understand because it's in your business nomenclature. This is truly going to de-silo the business because data brings business units together. This is going to service the ever-growing Lumascape of MarTech vendors out there because they all need data. This is going to help with consent. This is going to help with event syndication, audience syndication, visit syndication, visitor syndication, and now it's helping with AI.
Oh, I love it. I got to go to you now, Jay. So how is the data layer helping you as you talk about Tealium for AI?
Well, it's the grand crystal ball of everything, AI related. Because if you think about what a data layer does, it allows you to trust in the data that's flowing through your pipeline. I many times use this analogy of kind of a refinement process where data gets created when you are engaging with a brand. And that if you have a system that can be consented and then standardized and then transformed and enriched, most importantly, right, into actual insight, contextualized, to then send downstream for all sorts of great stuff. Today, AI is the thing we're talking about. What an incredible asset. And the more data I flow through that refinement process, the more I can trust the output of my data and that my teams can immediately act upon that data. I don't have to do data wrangling. I don't have to worry about a bunch of ETL processes. The data is ready to go. And that's, it's something that we've always believed in. It was one of our, guiding philosophies of building Tealium. A lot of companies were like, nope, put a single line of code on your website and just scrape the data that's available. And we said, no, we won't do that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about building the most important asset of your company. That's your data collection strategy. It's not an afterthought. And so when you think about this feeding frenzy of these AI systems, whether it be Snowflake, these huge cloud data warehouses, or the smaller players, everybody needs great data. Because if I can get them data faster, they can make better value for our customers. And that's the whole goal here, is to make our customers more successful with AI. And when you start with great data, you're really, really close to the end.
Wow. So, okay. So I think just one of the things you said was we went from vendor language to the business language. And just for our listeners and viewers, I think, Mike, that means like going from EVAR and prop and all these kind of variables that used to be in the definition. I remember doing those spreadsheets when we were implementing Omniture for our clients, to now I can call it product name and product title and description and very simple things that everybody knows exactly what it is. And I can imagine how powerful that is for an AI model, because now it knows exactly what each element is. It doesn't have to go and have some mapping or anything like that. It's very powerful. So I want to stay with the data layer for a bit, because one of the things that I wonder is, have you had to evolve the data layer strategy as all these new problems have come? Like, how much has the idea of the data layer evolved, or has it mostly stayed the same?
I would say that it depends. It depends on if you're a crawl, walk, or run data layer person. I would say that if you really understood the data layer years back, that the data layer you would have in the past would be something that you could still leverage today. I think it continues to evolve. I think we see more data. I think we see more MarTech vendors coming in, so we see the need for maybe expanding the data layer to give things that maybe when we did the data layer, we weren't thinking about mouse movements, or we weren't thinking about, certain types of, maybe we weren't thinking about like fraud or, the qualities of data fidelities, right? So those are new things that you add on. Yes, I think it's naturally evolved. I think it's evolved. I don't think it's changed.
Yes.
But here's what has changed on this. The industry changed. Google, Adobe, Salesforce, Oracle, they all changed to go after what we designed. They went away from the vendor nomenclature to the business nomenclature that we inspired, we created. So that is the biggest change in the data layer is not the evolution of our own data layer for our customers. It's that everybody else, every other vendor in the industry changed their data layer to match the one that we created back in 2008.
But in their own fixed schema for their own little ecosystem. And that
in a lot of cases, yes.
Yeah, so that is one of the things that we find a lot when we talk to our customers, right? Is that if you have tools like Adobe or Salesforce, you have to map all your data to their way of managing data. And then if you had to go somewhere else, then you have to transform it or ETL it versus having a completely flexible data layer that is yours. Now you can have it speak and your strategy, and you can actually represent all the different business unit needs in there, and you don't have to worry about any tool and what they want. So are you finding that more companies are looking for this kind of solution now with the demands that AI is putting on us?
The outcomes are being serviced by the innovation, and the innovation is not moving to more relational type databases where you have hard fixed rows and columns. Like that's not that the Oracle days of way back when where it's I have a very fixed schema. Businesses don't run on fixed schemas. It doesn't work in my opinion. And honestly, SaaS vendors can't be fixed schemas. I just don't see that, right? Every business is different. Every business's customers are different. And so you need to have a system that will support anything and everything. And you don't do that with fixed schemas.
Yeah, Jay, this feels like one of the core attributes of future-proofing your data layer, right? Like, I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier on, Mike, was the data layer strategy was intended to give you future-proof abilities with your data foundation. So as with AI, Jay, I wanted to ask, it feels like it's constantly becoming something else almost every week. So how would somebody future-proof their data layer in this world?
Well, the data layer itself is a future-proofing method for long-term sustainability for your data pipeline. So, and think about democratizing the value of data. So data, let's say you think of data as, I'm just going to grab as much data as I can, bring it into my data warehouse, and then I'll figure it out, right? I'll start to standardize it. I'll put standard nomenclature to it, but it's already in there, meaning it's already flowed through the veins of your business. It's already gone out to Facebook. It's already gone out to Google. It's already gone out to all these different systems. Your AI models are already trying to work with it. But if you get it right at the beginning, if you work really hard to build a data strategy around collection, everything downstream is working on the exact same data. Think about that force multiplier of having that level of data consistency flowing in real time to all of these different systems. I may be running a campaign in Meta. I may be running an email marketing campaign in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and I may be running an AI model, but they're all running on the same data. And so with Tealium, in that refinement process, you create consistency across all of those experiences, whether it's an AI output that then gets put back into Tealium for activation and democratization, or it's a simple Meta campaign that you're running. It's the same data. So if you really want to orchestrate your customer experience, having a standardized data layer, it unlocks everything downstream, and it's a virtuous cycle.
It also, Sav, coming on to that, everybody's out there is like, where is the easy AI? You know, it used to be the easy button. Now it's where's the easy AI button, right? Where's the easy button that I push that just does everything automatically? And they're coming, but here's the thing that they can't do without. They can't do without high quality trusted data. Mm-hmm. And the idea is if I'm implementing data in my business nomenclature, I'm going to get it right. We've run studies on this that showed that like 83%, this was way back when we were battling against, the early days of Adobe and Google Analytics, we ran studies and we found that 83% of the time implementers got the data layer more correct using our open business nomenclature rather than having to go with the vendor nomenclature. So statistically, it was proven that this was a better way to go about it. But when you have data that you understand and you can identify, and you don't need a decoder ring for, the data becomes cleaner, it becomes more accurate. And when you want that easy AI button there to do its job, you have to trust the foundation of the data, because we're going to move into a world where machines are going to start making automated decisions based on the data, and they're going to automate experiences. That's what everybody wants. Automate. Just you, Mr. Computer, you, Mr. Mac, go figure out what the best experience is and give it to my customers so I can focus on creatives and I can focus on building a better business. Mm-hmm. But they're going to start making decisions that cost money, and they're going to start making decisions that interact directly with the customers. They have to get those decisions right. Mm-hmm. And if they don't get the decisions right, I'm going to lose money and I'm going to lose customers, which means I'm going to lose more money. And so the idea around this is you have to trust the infrastructure of the data. And this is not anything. This is not something where we woke up in 2022 and said, we really need to change what we're doing here. We've been doing the exact same thing for 13 years. 13 years. Getting clean data to any destination, to leverage it in any way you want. That's been our focus. And to trust it, to understand it, to be able to bring people together to use it, and to trust it. That's why you see us we're the trusted customer data platform. We're the leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. We're trusted because we build an infrastructure of trust for data. And when you move into the world of AI, the very first thing you need is trusted data.
Every time you say these quotes, I feel like I should just pause and let that sink in. But yeah, I feel like there were so many things that we wanted to deliver through this completely flexible and open data layer. And continuously, with every major cycle of change in the technology platform, the answer keeps coming back to your first party data. Take control of your data, make sure you have trust and transparency in the data, make sure it's vendor neutral. Like, that's been the recommendation that just keeps coming back over and over again. And now with AI, it seems to be reinforced. Separate the data from your technology strategy, make sure you have a data strategy, make sure the data strategy represents your vision for the future. And that's where, like you said, agility comes from this data layer. You break data silos in this data layer. You set yourself up to activate your strategies down the road with this data layer. So it's been such a crux of everything. I feel it's a great time for us. Now, Jay, what I want to ask you about, based on what Mike just said, trust is a very big component of this data layer. But you mentioned a few other things when we were talking about it earlier. You were talking about enrichment, you were talking about transformation, you were talking about availability. So can you expand a little bit on the enrichment side? Why does that matter so much?
Yeah, so AI loves contextual data. It's not that you clicked on a button. It's what did the button do? What was the purpose of the button click? Right. So when you think about enrichment starts with the data layer. It starts with defining data. But if you think about the layers of refinement that can occur as you contextualize more and more, adding identity and metadata to what's happening becomes even more powerful for AI, because not all AI needs to run overnight and then give you an output of a model. Some AI, right, like LLMs, you can give a contextualized input right now, and it can change the prompt response right now. And so when you think about adding that, it's not just I clicked on this button, but that's the 7th time I've clicked on that button and I still have not converted. That contextualization of that behavior becomes incredibly powerful for AI. And so when we talk to our customers and we begin to dig into AI use cases, most people are doing traditional AI. They're pretty well set, and we're helping them feed great data to those models. The Gen AI stuff is pretty new. You know what I mean? They're trying to figure out their way. What we're giving them is an on-ramp to be able to accelerate their ability to actually deliver something that's trusted in the market. And so when you think about highly contextualized data insights, that gives the model the best opportunity to, in the moment, provide the best experience for that customer. So we're not everything to AI, right? We're a data source, we're a fine-tuning model source, but we're also a real-time system that can influence the output of AI as well. And so the more contextualized the data, it begins with high-level data labeling, then you get down to individual identity-based data and metadata. It just gets more and more powerful and has better and better impact in terms of the confidence you have in the output of that model. That's the exciting part about, enriching data as it goes through the process.
So all the different integrations and the ways of modifying the data that we offer, I could add information about who the person is. I could add information on how many times they've been here before. I could tell you loyalty information about them, or anything that I have in my enterprise. If essentially we can attach to this event information and send it to the model, and now the model is making extremely relevant decisions for that specific individual or that specific action. And you don't get that by just sending the event data through. It completely changes the relationship.
That's why we built Moments API. Moments API is a sub 30 millisecond response time ability to go grab data and bring it someplace, meaning an LLM model, right? So I can, within 30 milliseconds of something happening, I can go grab something relevant about you, feed it to this model. That model will eat that up, shoot, and spit it out and give you a fantastic, extremely contextualized experience because of the speed of that data. And that's why we continue to talk about real time. It's these things. Without real time, you can't really, get the value out of these systems. We're the interchange between CX and AI, and we're constantly exchanging data in the most highly relevant format possible.
Jay, I love that you threw out there a quantification of 30 milliseconds, right? Because we've been out there saying real time for so long, and we think real time means real time. Then every other vendor out there comes out and says, oh yeah, we have real time. We do this in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 days, 4 days, a trimester, whatever it is, right? The idea is we're starting to have to say real time now, right? And we're having to quantify it to say, let's put the number with milliseconds next to it, and let's go out with that instead of saying real time, because everybody's abusing this, and I think being relatively misleading is what I'm seeing around what real time is. But I want to come back to something that I think we scraped upon, and this is not the Tealium. This is not consent orchestration with Tealium. This is not that webinar, but a subset of trust is control. And as we move into this world of AI, and as we move into this world of, we've been in the world now for 6 years with GDPR and CCPA and all these restrictions, you can't put all of the data into your AI models and have it run. You have to have the control, and the control furthers trust, where the idea I can say, this is all my data. This is all my data that gives me insights into who my visitors are, but I don't necessarily have all the consent just to throw that into these AI models. So you have to be able to do that as well. And again, it's been our focus. It's been our focus to be a consent-sensitive data syndication engine, right? That's where we are, because we can't just ignore it and say, oh, this is one trust problem, right? No, it's not. If we're syndicating the data, we better be syndicating the right data.
Yeah. I agree.
And only to the places where we have permission to send it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also the guardrails that you put on the collection infrastructure, because a data layer has access to lots and lots of data, and so to make sure that data is being encrypted and obfuscated and blocked, there's things that you can do to make sure that data is being managed properly to enforce trust at the point of data collection, not after the fact that some data wrangling exercise you go through and you try to find all the regex methods of different data patterns, and you're hoping that you find them all. Put it at the point of collection, because consent and then data management, that leads to data amazingness.
And just to expand on something I said earlier, if you're putting bad experiences in front of your customers, you're losing money, you're losing customers, which means you're losing more money. And if you're doing this outside of consent rules, you have fines. And now you're losing even more money, right? It's all what this comes back to is how do I leverage data to make sure that I'm optimizing my business?
Yeah, so many things that I want to dig into here. I'm gonna see which one I pick. So I like what you said about control. I think that's been one of the areas that we've felt it's underserved in the market because most people need a fixed data layer. And when I say data layer, just for the viewers, it's the way you define all the different elements that your data represents, and it's the way that all the systems read that data and what you can see. Now, when we have control, we are not forced into a specific approach. We have the exact choice to set it up the way we want. We have the choice to keep changing it. But more important, we know what data goes where, when, how it's used, why it's used. That's the control you need at all times now for AI compliance and for just general data privacy compliance. You have no choice, right? There's just no way around that. And in fact, that's the responsible use of data now is you have to be very, very intentional and very above board about this data. So what AI is doing now, you both talked about real time, and I wanted to bring that up. One of is real time for AI that important? Because what's happening is all these AI companies are giving you an API, right? So can I not just integrate with that API? Why does it have to be real time?
Well, I mean, it depends on the use case. There are lots of experiences where real time is relevant, like I was alluding to earlier, where a prompt response can be immediately impacted for the optimal experience by a contextualized data element that then helps that model understand how to respond. There's fine tuning where you can be feeding data in real time. There are product recommendations and next best action. That's all real time stuff, right? So the more that those kind of models can have access to real time data, the better they're going to respond. Then there's the whole process of, beginning an AI project. Well, I just need clean, consented, enriched, correlated data so I can begin figuring out what I want to build to start training the model. Real time might not be the most important part, but it's all the other stuff that happens in real time via Tealium that gives you better time to model. Because I can get the data and I can get my data scientists cooking right now on this data. They don't have to spend 70% of their time data wrangling. So it's still, that real-time thing is still relevant. It just so happens that we're doing all of this real-time preparation of the data so that it is AI ready.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
You guys have known me for a long time, right? You knew what you were getting into when you invited me here. I'm a quirky guy. Nobody is going to ever convince me that a real-time experience loses to a non-real-time experience. That's just me. Anytime I see an experience that's delayed, I can always imagine a better one in real time. That's just the way that my brain works. I can't help it, but it doesn't happen. So many businesses are out there saying, we don't need AI for real time because we're just focusing on bringing back abandoners. Really? What if we used AI to prevent abandonment, right? That's what they're not thinking about. That's the big challenge. So no, real-time AI, of course, it has to be there. It has to be there.
Yep.
It's the future. It's who wins.
Agreed.
Yeah, and another thing that I've heard from so many customers, and we've seen in so many implementations, you cannot decide later that you want a real-time activation if you didn't build a real-time system, right? Like even if I have one real-time use case, I need a real-time pipeline behind that use case. So where we find customers are coming back to us very often is like, oh, we thought we needed real-time for one use case, but that means my end-to-end activation needs to be available in real time, especially with the enrichment included, right?
Sab, I talk to prospects that come to me and say, well, we have 5 batch use cases and 1 real-time use case. So we don't know that it's really worth it to use a real-time use case. My response to them is, you haven't thought hard enough about your use cases because there's 10 more real-time use cases that I can throw on top of what you're doing right now. And now you have no choice. You have to go real-time because it's what your customers want. Like, okay, you know what? The Wi-Fi on the plane will work in an hour. Okay, that seems great. hey, I have a problem, Mr. Call Center operator. I'll call you back in a couple days with the solution. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. Real time wins. The real time best experience wins. Period.
And the technology has caught up now, so that these algorithms, this AI stuff, man, where do you see the stuff we drop at Digital Velocity? We've got some incredible technology examples of using real-time data. It's cool. It's next level crazy stuff that we're going to be dropping. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I think that we're getting close to the end, everybody. So let me just try to wrap this up. So first thing is, we talked about AI being the source of automation. All our automation dreams are getting unlocked with AI. Well, as soon as that happens, then you want to give people the best relevant offer in the moment. That is what everybody wants. And AI is going to make that a reality. And you can't do that without a real-time pipeline. Now, your data, if it's not consented and controlled and ready for compliance, then don't use it. That's just data without proper consented control is a liability, and you just have to take that seriously. And the next thing, is enrichment. Don't think that the data, when it's created, is the best data that you're going to get for whatever ambition you have on the other side, especially when it's AI. The more context that you can add to the data, the better the model will understand it and the better result that you will get from that model, right? Those are the sources. And then finally, if the data represents your vision and your language, then that's when you always use the data to implement your strategy in the tool and not the other way around. The minute you design the data for a specific tool, now you're beholden to that tool. And that's what we like to help you avoid. So that's why we live. Now, Jay, you mentioned digital velocity. So let me just bring that up really quick. And would you like to share very quickly, Jay or Mike, just what this is and why we're showing this slide?
Jay, have at it, my friend.
Yeah, sure. So Digital Velocity, we're back in person. So we are super excited. We're doing these around the world. We happen to be talking today about the North American Digital Velocity. We are live in person June 10 through 12 at the Omni in beautiful San Diego. It is going to be an incredible experience. We've got partners. We've got Genius Bars. Like I said, we're going to be dropping some amazing AI innovations. You can see what you can do with your data and with AI with Tealium. So it is an event not to miss. We're so excited. So if you are interested in joining us, please do reach out. We'd love to have you.
And with that, Mike, thank you. Jay, thank you. Huge thank you for all our viewers. Thank you for giving us your time. If this is of interest to you, come join us at Digital Velocity. We cannot wait to discuss more with you. Hit us up on LinkedIn. We want to discuss this more. And we believe in everything we just said, being the reason that you can future-proof yourself with all the AI that's coming. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.